Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brúnó Balázs, and my PhD working title is Novel Methods to Optimize Cardiac Catheterization. I am a medical doctor and a PhD student interested in interventional cardiology. My vision is to enhance the safety of the cardiac catheterization laboratory team by reducing occupational hazards. Therefore, my mission is to provide forward-looking and novel scientific results in radiation safety. Currently, I have two projects underway. The first one is a systematic review and meta-analysis investigating the risk of radiation exposure for different personnel during fluoroscopy-guided cardiovascular procedures. The number of percutaneous procedures to treat cardiovascular diseases has rapidly expanded in the last few decades, but those performing these types of operations have significantly higher risk of developing several health problems, most related to radiation and radiation-induced illnesses. The association with cataracts is well documented, and there are growing concerns for cancer induction, with recent reports signaling predominantly left-sided brain cancer in interventionists. As you can see on the figure, the position of the key staff members around the fluorography table is fixed. At the head, the anesthesiologist or the interventional echocardiographer standing at the head of the patient, and on the right side, the primary and secondary operator. Our aim with this meta-analysis is that examine the radiation hazards between different personnel in the catheterization laboratory and identify occupation in need of a higher level of radiation protection. Our clinical question is, which personnel have the highest radiation risk during fluoroscopy-guided cardiovascular interventions? And with our framework, we are comparing the per-procedure radiation doses of ancillary staff members compared to the primary catheter operator. And the hypothesis is that ancillary staff members standing at the head have higher radiation exposure than the primary operator, and those standing in the secondary position have lower radiation exposure. Conducted a systematic search in 5 different databases and got more than 6,000 results. We are almost finished the selection, the full text selection from more than 1,000 articles, but there are still a few being searched or translated, and the Cohen-Kappa will be calculated after the decision are made about those articles. But afterwards, I expect to involve around 300 articles in our analysis. I started a preliminary data extraction for our primary outcome, but in the future we're also planning to explore the relationship between procedure type and patient dose as a secondary outcome. In our analysis, we are collecting articles that are comparing procedural radiation data of ancillary staff members compared to the primary operators measured in microsievert. And between these studies, they use dosimetry on different body parts. And furthermore, between these radiation data, there can be 100-fold differences based on procedure type, complexity, the used equipment, or the operator's radiation awareness. Therefore, we decided to use standardized mean difference as an outcome measure because SMD can unify our comparison. And SMD is not tied to any specific unit of measurement, and its interpretation differs from other summary statistics. Literature suggests that an absolute value of SMD between 0 and 0.2 is considered to be a small effect, and everything about 0.8 is considered to be a large effect. In this first preliminary forest plot, we are comparing the radiation doses of ancillary staff members standing at the head and the primary operator based in 2 subgroups based on the use of shielding at the head position. In the shielded subgroup, the second subgroup on the figure, there is a significant heterogeneity, which is explained by the fact that these measurements between studies made during different procedures, including various types of structural heart interventions and also endovascular aorta procedures as well. And there is also an outlier, the McNamara 2022 studies. In the subgroup where the ancillary stuff at the head didn't use a shielding, the SMD, the overall SMD is 0.56, which means that they have higher radiation exposure than the shielded primary operator. But in the subgroup where they use shielding, the overall SMD is negative 0.64. Which means that their radiation exposure is lower than the shielded primary operator. And the confidence interval of the random effect models do not overlap, which means there is a significant difference between the two subgroups which can be implemented, that the addition of shielding at the head position creates a significant reduction in radiation exposure for the workers standing at the head. This is our second preliminary position where we are comparing the radiation doses for the ancillary stuff at the secondary position to the primary operators, and the overall SMD is negative 3.24, which means that the staff in the secondary positions received lower amounts of radiation, and this signify a large difference, and these differences hold both mathematical and clinical significance. As our preliminary results suggest, the unshielded ancillary workers at the head have the highest radiation risk. Meanwhile, the secondary position is the safest position. And the clinical implication would be that every catheterization laboratory should contain a shielding solution for team members working at head. So to assess my progress on the first project, despite the high number of full text, we are managed to present some preliminary data. The second project is a cross-sectional study with imaging phantoms, evaluating various types of radioprotective equipment in the catheterization laboratory or the Everett study. Interventional imaging techniques and treatments have reached a significant success for our patient, but unfortunately the protective measures for workers have lagged this pace. Even though the aforementioned risks are known, worker safety in the fluoroscopy laboratory often remains inadequate. We have to shift the paradigm and pull focus on healthcare personnel protection by providing clinical data on this field. Every personnel stepping in the catheterization laboratory legally obliged to wear a lead apron and the thyroid collar, but the body parts not covered by them are also not negligible. A review states that physicians had received 10 to 20 times higher radiation doses than body parts covered by the apron. But fortunately, there is a wide range of environmental and personal radiation protective devices available to further reduce this radiation exposure. And with this study, our aim is to evaluate the efficacy of various forms and levels of these protective solution for the personnel in the catheterization laboratory. As you can see on this figure, for example, there are movable lower body shields, table or ceiling suspended shields, patient-applied scatter radiation drapes, movable lead walls, lead glasses, and there are also for brain and eye protection, leaded face shields and thyroid protectors with extended collars. Basically, our clinical question is that how much can the addition of these different radioprotective devices reduce occupational radiation exposure for the operator in the catheterization laboratory, and we would like to build a model, an experimental model with a mock patient and a phantom operator, where we assess the efficacy of these devices alone and with configuration with each other. And the clinical implication would be that ranking of these devices based on efficacy could guide the investment and create more optimal use of resources. As a summary, we have two projects underway, what we would like to submit in the end of summer and the beginning of fall. Thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, don't be afraid. I'm asking because this was my favorite projects from the group. I'm sure you had some pre-assumptions before getting the results.
Yes.
Are the results in radiation exposure aligned with your expectations? And the second half of the questions is what can the plain old interventional cardiologists do different from tomorrow based on your results? Like, new guidelines and legislation is like in the future, but what can we do like today? Thank you.
Okay, and thank you very much for your question. Yes, basically our preliminary results are aligned with our assumptions, because the selection of this topic was driven by the fact that we can see that in Hungary, in many catheterization laboratories, there are no shielding solutions for the staff members standing at the head position. And basically, our goal is to create data which support the fact that it should have been, or there should have been solutions for them as well. Yes, these are quite pricey devices. So what can we do to reduce the radiation in the catheterization laboratory tomorrow is basically to arise the awareness of radiation of the operator, to use lower frame rates to avoid magnification and avoid steep angulation with the C-arms. And you know, maybe something that is also can be applied tomorrow, that now with these results we know that anesthesiologists or interventional imaging specialists are at high risk standing at the head position. So if they had not already, they should arise their own radiation awareness and educate themselves on this project and search for a solution that they can apply, maybe stepping a few steps behind the table or things like that.
Congratulations. My question is, what kind of equipment do you use in practice?
So basically, in our laboratory, which considered to be the standards, we're using lower table curtains and ceiling-mounted shields. We also use the red pad or these patient-applied radiation protection drapes, and which is not very common. We are also using the movable lower body shield, which is can be very effective when you have to use steep angulation and X-ray sources coming outside, coming out under the table, and it is basically the radiation sources next to you. When you use a full lateral view, you can put the movable lower body shield between you and the X-ray source.
Thank you.